Well, welcome. Hello. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Nima Sarshar. I'm the CTO of Empowered, which is not too far away, right across AT&T Park. So I'm going to quickly go over what we do in the tech we've built to identify world's experts in any topic, basically, and the business that we've built around it and the challenges we have. And hopefully I'll go quick through that, and then we could chat a little bit after. So, I probably don't have to argue too much for this. There's a lot of crap out there. If you go to the internet, it's just really hard to get real use for information. It actually is pretty interesting skill that not everybody has. And it's hurting consumers. It's hurting also the advertisers. So I was just looking at something for American Airlines, and I go to this page, and I see all this junk. But all I wanted to do was basically I was just doing a little bit of a research about American Airlines, right? So I have to now make Oprah cry, which how could you, right? And then there's an ad about a pretty good actually snowblower, and there's all this crap at the bottom that I don't know what it is. But so that's clearly not helping anybody. So the consumers cannot get the information they're looking for. If I'm researching about getting the best airline or what's a good airline, miles for which airline to pick, this is not helping anybody. Also, those advertisers, I don't see how that snowblower, as good as it is benefiting from being there. So that's what we're trying to solve. So consumers not finding the information they want easily. They feel frustrated, sort of dirty after coming out of this page. And obviously the brands are not getting what they're looking for. So a way to go about that is what we've started at Empowered, is why don't I clean up all that mess? And if you're looking for a certain topic, why don't I have a clean way for you to go and get the information you want about that topic? So we already do that in a way. We have all these brands, let's say CNET, that compares this versus that. A lot of us go there to research if you want to buy a gadget. Sort of somehow we trust that brand. But what we've tried to do is that the trust should be with the expert. If you're an expert, regardless of where you write, if you're writing for a small blog, I want you to give you that credibility just because you're writing that. It's not coming from the brand itself. So previously the brands hold that. They filter people, we assume, we just trust them. But why don't we kind of do that in a more organic way? So to me, this could be a CNET for everything, but machine-based and independent. Or you could think of it as a Reddit for non-nerds, right? So we kind of know who are experts in different topics. On Reddit, we know how people just bubble up because we think they're experts, because people validate them. What if we did the same thing for everything? And so this is sort of a dashboard that we have. This is a little bit cheesy. It's Apple Watch, but you go there and you get the story of the day. But on the left, you see people that are experts in fields related to Apple Watch. It could be iOS devices, a smartwatch, wearable technology, and so forth. Things that are categories that are related to what you're looking for. And then now what you could see is now, we're not yet doing that for the love of God. We'll have a business out of that. So what we do is basically, we also allow the brands to see what experts have to say about the products that they've launched. And if there are things that they like, we actually turn that into a native ad, like a promoted story that you would see in your Facebook. So here's basically the core of our business. On the left, this is an actual campaign we ran for Motorola when they came up with Moto X. So somebody who is an expert in Android smartphones thinks that Motorola's new Moto X might be the best Android iPhone I've seen all year. That's an independent story. She's been ranked independently because of all the things she's written in the past. And she has something pretty good to say about Moto X. So we turned that into a promoted story by Empowered. And when people click on it, the ad is the story. So you just go there and you just read for yourself. The value we bring to the consumer is that badge of trust. And again, that's been independent. Nobody's paid her to write the story. And this is based on everything that she's written over a long period of time. So that becomes a very powerful ad. We believe the consumer benefits because it's an actual piece of story. It's an ad nonetheless. I'm not delusional. But also clearly the brands benefit because now the trust that they could not gain through their own branded ads, they could gain by independently, organically generated, what we call earned media. So, but who's an expert? So, like, you could be philosophical about it, but we've been pretty principled. We wanted something practical that we believed in. So to me, an expert is somebody who writes about a topic consistently and in depth. So you have to write a lot. You have to it needs to be your job. But you can't also be writing about everything. If you're an expert about everything, you're an expert about nothing. So about a small set of related topics, we want you to be writing, have a track record of writing about that. But also, no matter how much you write, if nobody cares, then that's not interesting either. So we want people to engage with your content, validate it somehow, share it, comment on it, and so forth. And the third piece, which I think is interesting, that we started putting in, is opinions. So you could break the news and get be the first one who breaks the news and get a lot of tweets and shares. But as a consumer, it's not benefiting me that much, right? So what? That you're the first one who found a leaked photo of something, some product. I want you to actually express opinion. I want you to put things in context for me. So that's basically the third piece that goes into how we rank people. And at the end of the day, as I showed you there, I claimed the lady was number 3 Android smartphone expert, and so forth. All these rankings are there, but how do I even measure that, right? So what we have, what I call is the business of engagement. To me, at the end of the day, if I put that story in front of you, whether you read it or not is the greatest measure for how good that article was. So you were looking for an article. I thought this is going to benefit you. You clicked on it. You went there and you bounced back. That is not good. So we've kind of put our money where our mouth is. So we only charge the brands if somebody reads an article at least for 15 seconds. Okay? So then it's certainly in my interest, even on the business side, is to come up with a good way of gauging whether this article is engaging enough. Okay? So that's why, at the end of the day, our rankings are correlated with the probability that someone at random would actually read that article, at least for 15 seconds. And what we've came up with, as you see here, is basically if somebody is ranked 1 in a given topic, they're 3.5 times more likely. It's 3.5 times more likely for their story to be read at least 15 seconds versus somebody else who just wrote something about that article occasionally. So to me, that's sort of the greatest validation, but the beauty of it is that that's exactly correlated with what our business is. So now let's get to a little bit deeper. So this is what I mean by consistency in depth. This is 100 tweets of a lady at some point in time, but it's hard to, she's a celebrity, but you can't kind of figure out what she's into. So to me, expertise versus influence, really the core of it is depth in whether you have depth in a given topic. Now, she's pretty famous, anything she tweets gets engaged with, but really looking at the cloud word, you don't know. But this you guys probably recognize, it's somebody who's writing about big data, data science, something along that nature. And she is like our, I don't know, you may argue with the ranking or not, but she's clearly somebody who consistently writes about data science subjects. Now, to you guys, the big data and Spark and Cloudera and Hadoop and they're all related to each other, but we need a sort of a topical model that understands that. So the first order of business is basically creating a scalable, dynamic topic model. I loosely call it a topic model. It's not exactly a topic model. But something that is scalable, but also reactive, because things start emerging as stories break, but you also don't want it to be unstable. So I think we've struck a good balance between something that's agile and it learns from the data as the data goes by. So yeah, then you look at the articles she's written on the left, things, and you kind of detect those phrases, big data, So for it, as you might guess, we basically map it to using our topic model to a little bit more compact space where we actually rank people in. So the other interesting question is, what are the set of topics you actually rank people in? Turns out that's not very trivial either. But having a taxonomy of things that we rank people is another thing that we had to solve for. So you kind of now know that all stories she's written, when you project it in the space of things, topics, we rank them, that has a pretty nice peak, and she's probably writing about data science a lot. And then those are things that are a little bit easier, right? I mean, easier scientifically, but we had to build all these from scratch. We track about 9 different social media sites for every URL that anybody has published. So we kind of have a time series of how content gets shared in all those different topics by all those different authors. And then the other thing that's sort of interesting is, admittedly, we're not there yet, but like if you write for TechCrunch, because you get distribution, you're more likely to get a large absolute number of social media engagements, but that doesn't mean that your article is actually good necessarily. It's really that ratio of 100 people who read your article, how many of them shared it, is what we're trying to approximate. So it's not quite trivial, but we've come a long way in that too. And at the end is like quality of article. I want a measure of how good this article is in a, when you look at it, is it something that's appetizing and you want to read it? I'll give you a couple examples of what I mean by that. So like this. So this is like, this little Professor Calculator unboxing video is hilarious. It might be, but it's not really something I'm looking for, which it has entertainment value, so it has value, but it takes probably about 13 seconds for an average for people to engage with it. Whereas something that's more in-depth and of a higher quality. So we've started building models that tries from the composition of the HTML, like the images and obviously the text that goes inside it, to try to figure out what a quality ranking for that article. So I want things. And part of that quality ranking is that opinion that I was telling you about. Right now, again, admittedly, our opinion extraction is rather simplistic. But knowing that this article starts with building a case, even how many images you have, how big those images are, kind of are predictive of whether somebody actually ends up reading it. What I'm trying to predict is whether somebody would read this thing at this point. So opinion versus sentiment versus a statement of fact is what we're playing around with. Again, I'm looking for opinionated sentences, something that when I read about it, I know what I would have something whether I agree or disagree with. And those are usually sentimental, but they're not always. So I have 3 different types of sentences here. So although some might argue that pure Android is limiting, I find it to be cleaner. So that's good. I mean, it's a good sentiment, and I find it to be, sort of gives it away, that it's an opinion of the author. Second one is some statement of fact. Third one is a little bit more subtle. The second generation Moto X builds on its predecessor in all the right ways. So it's positive. It's probably an opinion of the author, but there's nothing that really gives it away as a, I believe or I find it. It turns out, in my opinion, that type of thing. There's nothing obvious that gives it away. So we're just playing around with those as well. And this is just, you have to have a slide with boxes and all, right? Yeah, so this is sort of an overall, just to give you a set of the feel for the scale that we're looking at. We crawl about 12 million feeds, about 50 million pages a day, but only about 200,000 to 300,000 of them passes our filters to really cut down on the noise that we see on the web. We do track about 1 billion social media signals on 9 different sites, and all of that basically feeds into our experts ranking that has that topical model and social media engagement data, and basically the NLP and text analysis and quality factors for the pages. And I'll stop here. Thank you. Yes.
What kind of topic model are you using?
So we built our own, which is, so again, I loosely call it it's a graph. It's a topic graph that tells you what's related to what, with what strength. So it's not exactly a topic model in this. So we do a graph clustering on top of that to have an actual topic, hierarchical topic model. But it's essentially a correlation matrix that gets computed very efficiently. As the new data comes in, it gets updated. And I saw a talk that's a little bit later about how they do that in a streaming sense with Spark. We do that a little bit differently, but it's basically an incremental correlation matrix that gets updated. Once in a while, so then you could think of it as a sparse graph. We do a community finding on top of that to have actual topics, but we rarely use that. We just use that for show off. But it's really that correlation matrix that matters and tells how things are related to each other.
When the same person appears in multiple
Yes.
social media, do you just rely on, say, on their about page that link to other social media, or you try to correlate people even if they don't explicitly?
We do that, and thanks for bringing that. So just like core to this is for me to know all the things you've written about. We try to resolve as much as it by resolving your Twitter handle and whatnot, and there comes a point where we you get a guess that based on the topics because we're really good at contextual relationships. So it's we can kind of try to say, well, this is most likely at 80% probability the same person. How we use that, it really depends on different things, but we try to have a unified profile of an author across sites. Yeah. Thank you.